welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. This week we're looking at another game, and the game this time is Quiddler. So we'll get right into discussing the rules on how to play this game. Start you off with looking at some of the cards. There's nice illuminated manuscript style lettering on there. And each card has a letter or letter combination and a point value, and your goal is to obtain the highest number of points by combining the cards in your hand into words. There are 118 cards with letters from A to Z and special double letters like Q, U, I, N, E, R, T, H, and C, L. Each card has a point value. Each turn starts with either drawing a card from the draw pile or picking up the top discard. The goal is to use all the cards in your hand to spell words. The turn is completed by discarding one card. A player can only lay cards on the table when going out or in turn after another player has gone out. When a player is able to go out, the remaining players each have one last turn. Each remaining player, in turn, will either draw from the deck or pick up the top card discard. The player will then lay down his or her words and discard one card. He or she will score the number of points on the cards used to build words. Points on unused cards are counted against the player's total. So going out, a player can only go out during his or her turn. After drawing, a player must be able to arrange all the cards in his or her hand into allowable words, with one card remaining. He or she lays the cards down and discards one card to get out. So that's the basic play. You can include rules for challenges, and if you challenge somebody that they're not making an actual word and then it turns out they do, it's a point deduction from the challenger's hand. So I mean, I think that has a level of adding new complications to it. But and there's the instructions also have a set of rules for solitaire games with this. So, now my thoughts and ideas inspired by this game. I have to admit, off the top of my head, I saw this game and I thought it was such a simple game that it might be hard to find ways to expand on this, but as soon as I started playing with the idea of this game, it made me think of a few other things that might be kind of fun to do. One of the first ones that came to my mind is, partly just because I'm amused by the name I decided it would be fun to give this, is schwa? And that would be using all those other phonetic pronunciation symbols that one finds at the starting section of an old dictionary, and making a set of cards with only those, and using them you have to try to phonetically spell out a word, and it could be quite amusing to see these things that don't make sense to most people who are used to seeing regular letters, and you might be able to throw in some regular letters in there too to just mix things up a little and have a little fun. But I think the going by pronunciation and goofing around with some of those strange symbols that nobody's familiar with anymore, sort of like how people aren't familiar with cursive writing. The next one that came to my mind is something to do with computer coding. So like anybody who's ever done anything like coding in Python would probably have done their first program as print hello world. And I got to thinking it'd be interesting, you know, for terms like print, to have a deck of cards that you can then lay out and then maybe use sticky notes or something as the variables that you would insert. And so laying them out, you're trying to write a valid chunk of code, or possibly collectively build a large set of code with cards randomly drawn, and see what your code will do. This one was a little strange at first as I played with it, but I got to thinking about something like bind runes. I'd be curious to see if you could do a game where taking runes and combining them into a bind rune, you could see if you could play a game where you're either doing a protective or maybe an offensive bind rune, and the runes would have, the individual runes would have point values, and a higher value would defeat a lower value. And so the question is, do you build a high defensive bind rune or an offensive? Because you can defeat somebody's defensive with a high offensive, and then they no longer have their defensive point value towards their total at the end of the hand. And then I came to the idea of, I wonder if there's ways to do this for musical scoring. So maybe you draw certain notes and you're trying to hum the first bar or two of a song or a jingle, and so you're trying to build a bar or two of songs, and that was one idea. It might be a little harder to do. You might have to do combinations of notes or even whole bars or chords. This one is, it's just a little bit of fun. Is do a set of cards for emoji and see if you can spell out whole sentences with nothing but emoji. This one I'm going to definitely have to play with is cards that are words, and you're trying to build a hand that allows you to write haikus. And I think that would be a lot of fun to do. And so I'm going to have to dabble with that one. But these were some of the ideas, and I was surprised at how quickly and varied and interesting ideas came from just a game like Quiddler. So it's not always some super complex game with story ideas and plots and stuff that'll give you new ideas for new games. Sometimes it's a good classic simple game like Quiddler. Alright, I'll see you next time.